Hey, CJ Khalil here. If you don't know who I am, I was a UPS driver and I built a portfolio up to 90 doors in less than 5 years. Now I teach working professionals to do the same. I'm here with one of my students in Kansas City, Lei Hua. We're going to talk a little bit more about your journey.
Okay.
And tell me a little bit about what you were doing before you got into real estate.
Absolutely. So I'm a local girl from Hawaii that had purchased 3 rental properties, and just over the course of the last 10 years realizing that that was not going to cash flow the way we wanted to. So we had the homes, but we didn't have the income. So my dream of quitting my job and just being a full-time real estate investor was going to take an additional push to get me there.
So you started 10 years ago and you bought property in Hawaii.
Yes.
What was the play at the time?
So it was just to get good quality properties that we could rent for over the mortgage amount and put some money in our pockets, and thinking over time that we were going to be able to increase and one day retire with that cash flow. So
what made you shift to an out-of-state rental market?
So the price in the out-of-state market was a lot more reasonable to be able to cash flow, because that's the point. The point is to be able to make money on your purchase and to use that money to cover your own expenses, to purchase other properties, to invest in other items. And in Hawaii, the cost for the homes and newer homes, desirable neighborhoods, things that people that are looking for that you can ask for high rent on, just required a lot more money towards it. So what that did is it took a lot of our savings, and we're putting the money into the property, but we're not getting a lot of it out. So seeing that out of state, you were able to buy, $1 million property that's going to cash flow a lot more than buying $1 million property in Hawaii that's not going to cash flow. That was the biggest thing.
So let's break that down then. So in Hawaii, let's use one of your properties. What's the value of that?
So one of the properties that we had, it was a townhouse in Ko'olina, and we're making $3,000 in rental income. But with the HOA increasing every year, that amount that we were putting in our pocket was just decreasing every month. So taking that $800,000 property that we were making $50 at the end of 3 years, we ended up purchasing a $1.425 million property in Kansas, and it's gonna cash flow at $8,000.
Wonderful. So that's a huge shift in your thinking.
Incredible, yes.
Yeah. So what made you want to be a part of our community?
So the mentorship,
yes,
that's definitely important, because when you're trying to get into something new, and just for myself trying to manage my own properties, I understood what it took to have the right people there, to have the realtor, to have the property manager that was going to be responsive and that would be able to take care of your property because you're not there in person. And to have someone who's got the experience and who knows what they're doing, they've made all the mistakes. It's not to say mistakes won't still be made, but they can help guide you and they can point you in the right direction. But the best part is having that team, like having that solid group of individuals that when it came time to find lenders, it's like property insurance, here's a list. General contractors, here's a list. And these are people that they trust and they've worked with for years. So it's a lot easier than to go out shopping to find your own team.
So what would be something you would recommend to, say, somebody that's on the fence about joining our community? What would be one tip of advice that you'd give them?
Trust in their experience. That's the number one thing. These are individuals that have a lot of credibility. They've taken a lot of action. You have the proof of concept. And you really have to trust in the process and know that what you're paying for is that experience. You're investing in yourself so that you can take that and you can implement it and be as successful as they are.
What's your timeline now? When you first started, that was 10 years ago, you were looking to create cash flow. What does it look like now for your timeline to exit the W-2?
Oh my goodness. I had an initial goal of 5 years, and I was being pretty generous with myself. Like 5 years, I think I can do it in 2 years. And just this initial transition, I started with WNN in April of 2024, and I'm closing on my first commercial property at the end of October. And it would have been faster, but I got in my own way. It definitely would have been faster, but just having that feeling of, in a 6-month time frame, I'm about to cash flow way more than I ever imagined on this one property. And I'm here in Kansas, just submitting another LOI for another property. And it's like, if I can just do this, it's just, everything's just going at an incredible speed.
So have you been a part of other mentorship programs before in the past?
Yes. So I'm involved in 3 different programs. And I think the WNN program, it's definitely much more intimate and there's a lot more one-on-one time. So for me, I'm not concerned about being scared or bringing up my fears because it's always a positive response and it's always a positive, like, nope, we can push forward through that. Here's your options. Think about it in this way. So I never feel like I'm, being looked at as if I should know more or I should be doing more. It's really we got you, let's take care of you, let's get through this, and here's some recommendations. And I always walk away feeling a lot more prepared and positive and just kind of ready to take on the challenges.
If you were to frame how we operate in the community to somebody who's not a part of it, how would you set up expectation for them prior to coming to our community?
Be open-minded. That's the biggest thing. And don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't think that, oh, that's stupid, or I should know more, or I should be better prepared. Definitely be prepared. Do your homework. Everything they ask you to do it. Do the work. Put in the work. Show them that you're taking all the steps. And from there, they're able to be more focused and push you in that direction and give you the guidance that you need versus, I don't know what to do first. Even that, they're like, start here. Watch these videos, write down all your questions and show up with those questions. But I feel very comfortable in the community sharing my concerns and it's a good feeling to have that intimate one-on-one and small environment that you get the attention that you need and you feel like they really are taking care of you. You're not just a number, you're a person. And their involvement in those projects, it really helped kind of catapult me from that not making the income to suddenly being like, oh my God, I can do this.
How can being in a high appreciation market like Hawaii be a benefit for you when you go out of state into a cash flowing market?
So when you have that property that you bought 10 years ago and you don't realize how much it's valued, over the last 10 years, you've got money in your pocket. So when you think, well, I'm going to need money to be able to purchase something else and I don't have the money, I don't have the savings, you have it. It's in your home. And you take that and you're able to, transition out of it into something that's going to cash flow a lot more. And that's exactly what I did.
So Leivo, let's break down the deal that you're in currently. You originally bought in Hawaii and we talked about different strategies on how to place you in a cash flowing market to get those numbers you want so you can achieve the results that you've been looking for. Let's start with what were you looking for when you came to Kansas City?
I was looking for high cash flow because that's what's going to be that validating step of I made the right decision. I sold this property in Hawaii and now I'm making, the dollars that I was intending to in the very beginning. And for me to be able to quit my job, I need to have that high cash flow property.
So what was some of the strategies we discussed that could benefit you with the sale of the Hawaii and moving it over to Kansas City?
So using the sale of the property and having the cash from the sale to be able to use towards a down payment or to purchase a part of the property was the biggest thing. So that allowed me to identify what my buy box was. So I knew on the low end what I wanted and how much I could afford on the high end from the sale of that.
So essentially, you didn't have to come up with anything out of pocket. It just required you to replace the Hawaii property with a different asset to generate positive cash flow. Could you walk them through what the process looked like from the sale to where you're at today?
So I sold the Ko'olina townhouse and I used the proceeds from that sale as the down payment towards the purchase in Kansas. And I was able to secure seller financing as well. So the seller is lending me the balance of the mortgage at 4%. And I was able to lock it in and not have to go through a typical mortgage lender.
So you were able to not only leverage the equity in the Hawaii property, but you're able to leverage the seller to be the bank for you.
Yeah,
at
with
an interest rate.
interest rate.
Right.
Unheard of in this time.
Do you believe that's something you would have achieved outside the community?
No, not for a second.
Cool. Well, that's the behind the scenes with Lehua, a real life active mentee who is taking massive action and creating massive results. If you want something similar, click the link below and talk to one of my team.